Okay, it's Scott Miller. I am back with another data video. And today I'm actually exploring working with foundation models. And this is going to be the beginning of a long process of learning as much as I can about using foundational models to create AI applications. And so today I want to present something I did this morning and started with a kind of common use case, basically predicting, or I guess analyzing sentiment about the stock based on articles that I can find. And it takes a lot more to do that than I originally thought. Basically, I started with an API to get stock information, and then I'm able to call another API from the same API, another endpoint, to get the articles. And then I'll take, so what I also had to extract the company name from the original call and use that to search for the actual articles that had that company name in it. It was assumed that the articles would include the company name in them as I called for them, but they don't really. And so the reason why is because you go to a website, and I'll give you an idea. You go to a website about finance, and this is what you see, right? There could be an article on here, but then there's a lot of stocks mentioned on here. So it doesn't really exclude anything. It just kind of includes everything, and I can't. So it's a little bit harder to parse through all of that, and that's something I will do later on. I might even create another model to analyze the page to say, hey, cut out the noise and which art what company is this about, you know. So that might be my next route. But to go on, I'm going to show you what we did here. So basically, let's go ahead and fire up the app, and I'll show you. Let's see here. All right, so it does take a couple seconds to get wound up. There's a lot of things going on in the background, but I might have to speed that up. So basically, I use Streamlit as usual. It's a super easy way to create an AI app, to present it. So obviously, there's a lot more that goes in the background, but to get it to this point, you don't have to deal with all the HTML, CSS, and all that. All right, so let's go ahead and check Netflix. I use just gives myself some reminders here of tickers to use. Which reminds me, the next thing I'm going to do is create something that will allow me to auto complete or use some other way to find stocks just within this app. So maybe I can use a voice command and say, look, show me the top 10 technology stocks or something like that. But that's the next feature. But for now, this is fine. I'll use some well-known stocks, or I can just go and get a ticker from another website, and then we'll hit fetch market data. And so pretty quickly it comes back. It's a recommendation of buy. It shows the website, and then I had to take, which is weird. The API doesn't provide the company name, so it gives you all this, hundreds of parameters of details, but it doesn't give you the company name. So I took and created a parser to parse out the company name. So then I'm going to take and go ahead and click fetch news. Right now it's analyzing sentiment, and so what the function does, it takes in the company name and it searches for, well, actually takes in the ticker and it searches for articles about that company, but then it searches through those, it loops through those and only provides articles that mention that company. And like I said, some of these will may not be about that company. It may be about a different company, but the subject company is mentioned, which is why it shows some that aren't relevant. Like here you have Google being mentioned, but Netflix is mentioned twice. So the idea is to focus on the ones where Netflix is mentioned in the headline. So Netflix positive, and then Netflix positive. So it's presumed that, and let's get market data again. It's a buy. So it's a recommendation is a buy. In the two articles, the sentiment was positive. So Netflix looks pretty positive. But let's go ahead and look at United Health. Let's see. All right, strong buy. I wonder why. So let's fetch the news. Oops. And sometimes it clears the search box. So you have to enter the ticker again. So I gotta fix that. Not sure why it does that. See, it still mentions Netflix a couple times here. One thing about United Health, the tough part about that is that it's a multiple word name, and see, it didn't parse it correctly. So that's on me. I gotta fix that. But let's go ahead and look up another one. Let's look up Palantir. That's been in the news a lot lately. Palantir is a hold, which is surprising because they're apparently well, actually, maybe a hold because the government has cut back its spending. So, and Palantir's main customer, and probably the only customer, is the government. Let's analyze the sentiment for Palantir. Okay, Netflix again at the top. Yeah, which is weird. It doesn't even these articles don't mention Palantir, so that's a bug I have to look into. But that's something I'll work on. But let's take a look at let's look at another one. Let's look at Tesla. All right, it's a hold. Yeah, Tesla's had a lot of negative press lately. Netflix again mentioned at the top. All right, here's Tesla. So it is mentioned down here. It's neutral. And then if we look back at the fetch market data, if we look back at that, it's a hold. So it's neutral as a hold. And that's so look, the recommendation is neutral, and then the article is neutral. And they're from two separate sources. So that's pretty substantial. Okay, look at DJT, Donald Trump. I'm not taking a position on that, but it ought to be fun to look at the stock. There's no recommendation for DJT. Let's see if it shows up in any news. No, it looks like these are just some of the top stories. Oh, here, down here, Trump trade, president said then. So it's just basically talking about his presidency, but not his stock, not his company. And that can probably happen. So a lot more needs to be done with analyzing. Let's look at Coke. A lot more needs to be done with retrieving news because, obviously it's unstructured data and it's not perfect. But all right, so market data here for Coca-Cola Company. You see my parser is screwed up a little bit. Coca-Cola Company. But let's see if it shows up in any news. No, it's just showing the top news here. It defaults to the top news. So let's find another one. Energy Fuels Inc. Let's go Uber. Oops. Our recommendation is a buy. Oops. Let's fetch the news. And it defaults to the regular top 5 news results. Let's do one more. V for Visa. Probably going down because just this morning I saw Capital One is merging with another credit card company. So maybe it has a. Well, no, they use Visa, so maybe it goes up. The recommendation is a buy. So Visa is up. Let's fetch the news. And no specific results on Visa. All right, I'm going to do this again until at least I find one more. How about Wolf? I've never heard of this company, but Wolf Speed. All right, let's fetch news. Probably no news on that one. Oops. Okay, as you can see, my articles are not really working today, but that's fine. I just wanted to show you the process behind it. It does need some work, especially retrieving the proper articles, but the recommendation portion does work because it's looking at the data. So it's just the article's not working too well. But let's take a look. So basically, it's the Streamlit app. Pretty simple. We're just retrieving data from an API and writing it to the page. I have a sentiment analyzer. So this is where I'm analyzing sentiment using Hugging Face. I use newspaper to scrape the data. I need to provide some context to this newspaper package. Maybe narrow it down a little bit more. Maybe require that the company be named more prominently rather than just once. Maybe I'll require that it's been named a certain percentage of time, and I can run. Basically, what I'll do is I'll analyze a bunch of random articles and use a base company name, and then evaluate the percentage that that company name is mentioned in that article. So if it's Coca-Cola, if the article is about Coca-Cola, I want to see that it's been mentioned X percentage amount of time, and that way I can use that as a base to in my function and say, okay, look for articles where Apple is mentioned 20% of the time when Apple is the subject company. So more work for me to do, but just wanted to show you this pretty cool project that I'm working on. It's got a long way to go, but it's a lot of fun. So thanks a lot for watching my video, and happy Easter, and I will see you later. Bye.